Our examples, as I told you at the very beginning, will get more and more complex because you have been learning more and more, and I would like you to take a look at my game against Sutovsky, the game which was played in the last round of a tournament in India in 2004. And if we take a look at this position, then basically what we see immediately is that white has two bishops. And once seeing this, our first idea should be, we have two bishops, we have some advantage, we should use these bishops to open up the position. And then the second phase is how to open the position. And we could start with, let's say, f5, trying to open the diagonal for the bishop, trying to open the file for the rook, and it would be all great if the c3 pawn would not be hanging, and if this would not give great square on e5 for black bishop. So trying to combine this, also trying to open yet more files and more diagonals, trying to open the d file and trying to close the diagonal for the bishop, basically the move e5 comes into consideration. And after d takes e5, and now only f5. And now we see that basically we opened the d file, the pawn on c5 is weak, and we closed the diagonal for the black bishop. And basically, about now, white's calculation could actually stop. White could say, positionally I have enough for a pawn, and basically I do not need much more. But in fact, of course, he would be wiser to take a slightly closer look and try to delve into the depths of the position and see what black can do to defend himself. It is very rare in chess that after a successful idea employed in the opening, that the opponent is just defenseless. Usually he is able to do something. And let us take a look. If he takes g takes f5, we immediately see that, or this in fact, weakens his king side. That is, we can take on f5, followed by rook h5, and fairly serious questions would have to be answered by the pawn on h7. So, what else could he do? He can maybe go king h8 at once, but then we take on g6, and now h takes g6 doesn't work because of simply taking on f7, and after f takes g6, rook takes f8, bishop f8, black's position is irreparably weak. All these pawns are weak, and basically white squares and the king on h8 are just horrible. So also this is not likely to be done. But of course in the starting position after f5, black will try to get some activity, and knight d6 comes into consideration. Of course he tries to fight our strongest attacking piece, that is the bishop on c4, which exerts tremendous pressure along this diagonal, and also tries to attack the pawn on f5. And at this moment it is important to concentrate, not to lose all the advantage which we got in the opening, and see what we can do to keep the initiative even at some cost. And we do want to keep our bishop on c4. And once we do know this, then the answer is pretty clear. We keep our bishop on c4, and we can do it with simply eliminating the knight on d6. And after e takes d6, we just continue with our plan. We take on g6, and now we basically blast everything open, all the diagonals, all the files, and the bishop will be coming to h6 as well, with probably winning attack. Or in fact, we could do it in the different move order. We could take on g6 first, making use of the fact that after knight takes c4, d takes h7, king h8, b takes c4, but would even be pawn up and would have pretty serious attacking ideas like queen f2 and bishop c5, and just basically also the pawn on h7 would be pretty strong in the future. So after f takes g6, h takes g6 is pretty forced, and now rook takes d6, as we mentioned. It is important not to fall for the trap queen takes g6, using the spin and threatening bishop h6, but alas, this would not work because of knight c4, and eliminating this bishop. At last, black threatens f takes g6, and white is not in time to do anything. So, first rook takes d6, e takes d6, and queen g6. So let us stop in this position. What are the positional factors which lead us to believe that white should be doing well here? Well, in fact, king is under attack. Queen, and this is very important, is off play. And basically white has a very concrete threat, that is to play bishop h6, hitting on g7. Can black defend? Can he go maybe king h8? Well, we pause for a while, and then we check queen h5. The most natural move to check. You see a check, and you check it. King g8, bishop f7, and we see that it basically went horribly wrong for black. What else can he do to defend against bishop h6? Because we do not expect him to resign. And we see that he might go e4. The idea being that after queen c3, the queen will be defending g7. So he just might hang on. And it's very important when attacking to see the opportunities of your opponent, and thus to be able to stay in reality in order not to get euphoric. That's how many thousands or millions of games have been spoiled. So after queen takes c3, which is pretty much the same as e4, I had to try to find the most clear solution. I looked at bishop takes f7. And now if king goes, then it is just made into rook takes f7. And now the fact that my bishop on e3 is hanging does not allow me to attack with ease. I cannot take rook f7 threatening mate because of queen e3. And if I take queen f7, king h8, I didn't see a way to proceed. So I returned to the position after queen c3 and thought of what are the attacking ideas I have at the moment. We saw that it is very important that white's bishop on e3 is hanging. So it could be a clever idea, in fact, to remove the bishop from e3 whilst winning some time. That is bishop h6. So we see how calculating a line can help us in other lines to find the most effective continuations. So queen d4 check, king h1, e4. And now when black used his queen to protect f7, now I can go on with my plan. Bishop takes f7. And now the major difference is that after king h8, nothing is hanging, and I can just attack at my leisure. And that is, I can generate threats with quiet moves. And given the fact that king is on h8, it's pretty natural to try the move queen h5, threatening just to pick up the bishop anywhere, and then it is mate. And basically black cannot do anything against it. After rook takes f7, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, so rook takes f7 followed by queen h7 is just mate. So after bishop f7 check, black had to take rook f7, queen f7, king h8, and here you see that white just got his sacrifice material back. He still has the attack and just has to concentrate in order to finish the opponent off immediately. And this happens after queen h5, bishop h6. After king g8, white takes first on g7, and after queen takes g7, queen d5 check, just picks up the pawn and will be attacking with pawn up and completely winning position. So after bishop h6, queen h6, king g8, you see that white has a lot of attacking potential. He can go queen g6, followed by rook f5, but then this would be queen d1 mate. And in fact, white can see that black's only counterplay is connected to the fact that white doesn't have the heir for his king. And thus the solution is very simple. I just plays h3, eliminating the last counterplay, and then finishes off with the idea of rook f5. And now we see that after queen a1, king h2, the square e5 is controlled, and there is not much to be done against the mating attack of white, which comes with checks like rook h5, rook g5, queen g6, rook h5, and mate. So in this example, you could see how timely opening up of the position for two bishops can blast the defenses of the opponent, and we could also see how one can use pins to basically bring your pieces where they usually do not get and where they would like to get. And I hope this example has been nice enough, and we proceed with examples as I was warning you will get more and more complex.